Hi everyone, just before we get into this episode of Type 1 I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you so much for pressing play. I really hope you enjoy this episode. If you do, don't forget to hit subscribe and you'll be notified when new episodes come about. You can find us across podcast land on Spotify, iTunes, all those good places as well. Secondly, anything you hear on this podcast should not be taken as medical advice. I am, of course, not a professional, and you do need to seek advice from your healthcare team before making any changes to your diabetes management. And lastly, if you want to say hello, I do have an Instagram page specifically for the Type 1 podcast. You can find it at Studio Type 1 That's at Studio Type 1, the number, on 1, the number. And you can also come and say hello and follow me on my personal page, which is at Miss Jen Greaves. And all of that will be noted in the episode description. Hi everyone, and welcome to Type 1, a podcast that delves into the obscure, complex and challenging world of life with Type 1 diabetes. I'm Jen Greaves, and each week, with the help of some brilliant guests, I'll be showing that there is no normal when it comes to handling this whopper of a chronic condition, because we're all pretty much figuring out the messiness of day-to-day life with diabetes as we go. And most of all, even though it doesn't always feel like it, we are absolutely not alone. Hello everyone, welcome to this end of year little look back special episode of Type 1 and to do such a thing, I obviously had to bring in the big guns. So please welcome back my lovely friend, Ami Bennett, to Type 1 on the screen. Hi, Amy. We're recording video for the first time because I've dialed up a notch. So we've put on our best/worst rush makeup ever. But you're looking stunning, my love. She's had her hair done.
I had it done specially just for the podcast record. When you moved it to video, I said, I'm actually going to have to brush my hair and get out of my pajamas.
Yeah, we normally record looking like slugs. I speak for myself.
I've got some really funny photos. When you were I think you were somewhere cold in South America, and you had a blanket wrapped all the way around your head, and loads of pictures of me with like my hair in like a top knot, like all greasy. Look at us now.
Look at us now. I've got a sparkly festive jumper on, and yeah, we're here. We're here. And so for those of you that have not had the pleasure of meeting Amy, either audibly or otherwise, you can go right to YouTube and take a look at her beautiful face. Little plug there for the YouTubes. And myself and Amy are friends, historic friends.
Real life friends.
Not
just dire friends.
Mm-hmm. And Amy went and got diagnosed, didn't she? An empathy diagnosis, we like to say.
I felt really left out. It was a FOMO diagnosis.
All I did was bang on about my diabetes, so that's my whole personality, and now you're here with me. So thanks.
It's not because actually, what I will say is we speak probably twice a week, and the majority of the time we're not talking about diabetes. The majority of the time we're just talking about how tired we are.
Yeah. Oh, God. I was in my head. I was like, there's a few places that end of that sentence is going to go, and that is definitely the most accurate. Hello. Have you started saying late 30s yet? Because I still haven't, but I need to.
You're not there yet. So I think after May, you can say it. But
I don't wanna.
But yeah, have I started saying, I think in my head. But the thing is, I'm one of those people that by the time, like when I turned 37, I was already telling people I was nearly 38.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think aging is amazing, but there's something about shifting into late 30s.
Oh, yeah.
Where I'm like, okay. And probably because I lived the life of a 25-year-old at this point, I've gone backwards. I've regressed.
I also realised that...
my glucose alarm's about to go off. Well timed.
Oh, well timed.
Hello.
Which way is she going?
See you. Oh, she's up. She's up. No, because I've just eaten. Yeah.
Normally down for you. I realised that we sit here in December 2024, soon to be January 2025. And in January 2025, which is like less than a month away, I will be able to say next year I'm going to be 40.
How do you feel about that? That's quite fun though. Is it fun?
I'm all right with it.
Yeah.
Is it fun? Yeah, it must be. But the 30s were so much better than the 20s, despite the sympathy diagnosis.
Despite that whacking great chronic condition you got lamped with.
Yeah, so I feel like the 40s are going to be better than the 30s. Anyway, I've still got a whole year and 9 months, so I need to just chill out.
Yeah, we're good. I think we're doing good. This is like going out at the very end of 2024, and I was having a little think today, knowing that we were doing this podcast, and I was like, we've done okay. I think we're doing all right. So yay for that. Yay for that. I mean, apart from being really tired and telling each other all the time.
I've put so much concealer on under my eyes because I did a call before this and I said to Jen, I couldn't tell whether it was the lighting or just my face, but I couldn't concentrate on the call because all I could think was how much I looked like Uncle Fester. And so I've put so much concealer on my face. I feel like I now look like a cartoon character. You know, like I'm really surprised.
Just very stunned to be here, aren't we all?
Yeah, man.
Oh, wow. I was thinking about you today, actually, talking of your diagnosis, because I pulled out a skirt that I haven't worn in literally years, and it will be years because you're coming up to, like, what, 4 or 5 years of diagnosis now?
I've had my 5-year diversity.
She's 5, which is absolutely wild to think about. But I don't think this skirt I pulled out today, I don't think I've worn it since the day, and you will remember this day, that you put your first glucose sensor on.
Yeah, because it's documented.
Yeah, we have the receipts, which I will maybe post as part of posting this episode so that people can see. Not that you'll care, but just to think about how far you've come since then, because that was a moment, and it took you a long time to get that sensor in, right? To the point that we took photos because, you know, all fun and games, treasured memories.
It was so weird as well because we did it in the office at work.
Yeah, we were both working at the same office at the time. It was pre-COVID. I mean, lots has happened since then.
Also, remember that at the time there was a shortage of Libres, and so they weren't taking like new customers because they were still so new. And I think you were using a Dexcom, but you had a registration for a Libre account, so I gave you the money and you bought them for me.
That's true. Yeah, because you couldn't get, like, they weren't taking new customers.
They wouldn't accept new people. Yeah, and it's funny because none of what we've done is like illicit or to like extort money out of anyone, but we've both like done stuff for each other. It feels naughty, like the time I took insulin to Mexico.
Thank goodness. I was talking to someone today about FIASP, and I was really missing that FIASP. So thanks so much for that.
It does make a real difference.
You've got to make it work. You need to rely on your peeps.
Yeah, and also like you see it all the time now, and I think it's still mad to think that there was a world where there was a Libre shortage because they didn't, like, no one could buy them for ages. But you know, you always see things on Instagram accounts like, does anyone have a spare Dexcom? You know, I remember talking to our friend Heather once, whose son uses a Dexcom. She was in Hertfordshire somewhere, and she's like, the one spare, I've just used the one spare, and then that one's failed. What am I going to do? And I was like, well, I can meet you somewhere with one.
Yeah.
And, you know, you do what you do to get by. And I think if anybody questioned it, then you don't understand.
You don't get it, guys. But I'm sorry, do your fans know your news, speaking of tech? When was the last time we spoke?
Oh, it was when you had just got your closed loop.
So, we've given away the punchline, but Ami Bennett...
Oh, yeah, shit, sorry.
That's okay, I did it. We've got news. Tell us, how are you doing?
She's closed looping. She's looping. Yeah, I feel so lucky. Basically, my hospital did a group of people who were already on an Omnipod Dash and a Dexcom G6. So everyone in my training group was on the same. We were coming in it from the same place.
Yeah.
And I was just really lucky. I got an email, I think, and I immediately screenshotted it and sent it to you because I was like, is this real? Because it feels like it's not real.
Because I think prior to that, you'd been told there were long waiting lists. They weren't approving any more training. And like, it was all there waiting to go, but there was no one to implement it. I actually think that's the last time we spoke on the podcast, because I was sat there like, this thing is amazing, but it's really hard because we have these access like issues around the world, not not just the UK, but and then out of nowhere that message was like,
and do you know what the mad thing about it was? Is I think I'd said on the podcast, or I'd said to you, like, I'm really content. Like, I'm really happy that I have an Omnipod anyway. Like, it was very well documented on the podcast how much I'd sort of fought to get a pump in the first place. And I still felt very grateful that I had a pump. And it had made, just the difference from injection to pump had made such a vast improvement to my sort of headspace and my life in general, that I was like, do you know what? It'll come when it comes, and I can survive. And then literally, I think we did that podcast, and then a few weeks later, I must have got the email, because that was it. I just got a random email being like, can you make this training day for Omnipod 5? And I was like,
and it was really soon, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was within 2 weeks. It
was 2 weeks later, wasn't it?
And then, it's just, again, like just another step. It feels like ascending a staircase of like to a space where your brain is almost what it was before.
Yeah, there's so much to be said for that, honestly, because that's exactly the main takeaway that I've had. And I've done episodes on hybrid closed loop, both the logistics and the device side of things, and then the emotional side of things. And that is the main thing for me, is that I've said, as someone who was diagnosed as a child, this is a part of me unlocked that I almost had forgotten existed. Whereas for you, you really knew who that person was that you were pre-diagnosis, because it was 5 years ago. So it was really quite like sharp and stark for you, wasn't it? So to like get, well, I'm putting words in your mouth, but from what you've told me about this, it has been like you say, moving back towards that person that.
Yeah, I think it's almost like, and I was in my mind, I was thinking shapes, and I like the shape of it is almost like your graph when you're having a long day and then you eat something, it like dipped down. And I think upon diagnosis, I was super optimistic, and I remember being like, it's going to be fine, it'll be great, I can handle this. And then in like 2020, like we were locked down, it was difficult, and all of a sudden I realized the mental load that this had. And then there was a bit of a dip, and then just doing all of the things that I could to pushing to get a sensor, and that was a struggle as well. And it's so nice that these things are much less of a struggle now. I have a little story for you, if you don't mind the interjection.
I wouldn't say that's an interjection. I would say that's a stunning segue, like a true professional. Hit me.
I work with a lovely lady called Louie, and she is type 1, and we first started working together at the end of last year, and I had my dash then, and she was asking me about it. She was like, oh, I've never really thought about it. And I said, honestly, it's just made the biggest change to my life. And by that point, I'd had it for a year.
Yeah.
And then, which feels that the whole time I've had a pump has been 2 years, and that feels gone so quickly. It's like part of my body that I don't even think about. And so then we work on a show together, and we started the show again it started in September. And she messaged me and said, can you tell me more about the pump and the closed? I told her I was on a closed loop, and she was like, can you tell me more about it? And I said, well, what hospital are you at? And she said, it's the same. She told me what hospital. It's the same one that I'm at. And I said, well, just let your consultant know that you're interested in it, and they'll add you to the list.
Yeah.
So this was September. And by the beginning of November, she was had done the training, and she went from injections to that.
Wow.
And she went from a Libre as well, and she now does the same as us. She's Dexcom Omnipod 5 loop. And it just, to see how quickly things are coming along, how quickly that training is being rolled out now. And I know that, there will be places in the country that are not as quick, and it might feel like a struggle, but things are changing. And, as someone who was diagnosed 5 years ago, where I wasn't, I didn't have access to a glucose sensor. I had to really fight for that.
Yeah.
And to now be using a glucose sensor with a pump in a closed loop, that has moved so quickly in 5 years that, what's going to happen in the next 5 years? It's incredible.
Yeah, I'm thrilled for you. This is like, what a year. That's a big year of diabetes. And I know from the messages I get that more and more people are getting on this stuff, and it seems to be doing great things, and like increasingly there's body of evidence that says so. But I was thinking back this year, and you know, we are both busy people. We always talk about that. We don't have kids and other stresses that other people have, but our lifestyles are different, but they're busy. And I was just thinking, like, I really have thought about diabetes less this year.
Yeah.
And isn't that amazing? That's kind of I think that's my biggest takeaway. I just feel like it's in the way less.
Yeah.
And despite us moaning about sleep, the change in the number of alarms.
I would argue the sleep thing is 70% down to our lifestyles and nothing to do with diabetes a lot of the time. Not because we're out partying, because we're too old for that, but I think it's more that we work mad jobs. We're both not night owls as such, but we can both be productive quite late into the evening.
Yeah, it's true.
And sometimes I won't finish work till 8 or 9 o'clock, and then I'm like, I owe myself 3 hours to do nothing.
I thought you were going to say
at 1 a.m.
I owe myself 3 hours to do nothing and a packet of biscuits, which is me sometimes.
I mean, that's basically what I've eaten today. 2 slices of toast and about 17 digestives.
Oh, happy Christmas. Nutritious. But yeah, the change in the sleep. I think I said this last time. I don't know if I did or not.
Yeah. And I was so jealous. I remember thinking, oh my God.
No, but like it's made me more tired because my body's relaxing. That this year I've actually done less because I feel like my body is decompressing 28 years worth of like tension. Sorry, this wasn't supposed to be a big tech chat.
I think the point is there that if the tech, the access to the tech is, more available than what it was before. And, you know, if you want it, ask the questions, talk to your team, because you don't know what options might be there for you. And I know that I didn't realize how much headspace diabetes was taking up until I went, and I think it was that adjustment of coming out of lockdown and going back into the workplace. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, I have to go out and about with this thing. And like, you know, I was having a time where I kept having hypos every time I went home, because I would have my lunch, sit sedentary at my desk after lunch, go really, really high, ramp up the insulin, get on the tube home. And even the walk just to the tube station would just sink my glucose levels. And, you know, that's a mental load, because it's thinking about what's going to happen every night literally on my way home from work. And I don't think I had considered what that might mean for me when I was diagnosed. And so sometimes you're so wrapped up in the doing it that you forget that actually there are ways to help you do less, which is where we find ourselves now. And I feel like coming at it from a really privileged perspective here, which I realize I am, but it's just nice to think. I'm old. I need to use my brain a minimal amount at this point, please.
Oh, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Just let's close those tabs, please. Thanks very much. There's plenty going on in here. No, that's wonderful. This is a big year for both of us, truly. And it's exciting because I do think the messages I've had as well, like other people are getting this vibe as well from their experiences. It's like, this is still shit, but it's getting a little bit less shit. So thanks, guys, for making it less shit. That's nice.
Thank you, Partha Carr, for de-shitting.
So delicately put. Oh my.
But I think like it's really important to keep it real. And,
100%.
You know, I feel so grateful and lucky with the tech. You know, I felt grateful and lucky. I think I made that clear before when I got the pump. I was just like, I feel so lucky to be in this position. But now even more so, because, when things are busy at work or, you know, it's doing less. And the biggest part of the admin is literally changing the pump every 3 days. How good is that?
Oh my God. Speaking of, I have just come out of a quite intense work period, which I do less of now for sure, but I knew it was coming. It was a squeeze and I was working on a really fun TV show, blah, 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 blah. But as a solo flyer, I was talking to you about this as someone who knows it well. Like everything else in your life, you still have to take the bins out. If you leave the washing up, you wake up, the washing up is still there. My plants are dying away. Like there's just not an extra pair of hands to lift anything else, which is fine. That's how I operate. That's what happens. And there are certain things I've just let go. But I always change my pods at night time. And I know you're probably not supposed to do that in case you get a kinked one and it doesn't deliver. But touch wood.
I didn't know that. I always do mine at night.
So I just don't want the alarm going off in the morning. If I'm getting the opportunity to not wake up at 7 a.m, like, I'm going to take it, and I do not want an alarm going off in the morning telling me I need to change a pod. Or when I'm out and about just doing my life, at least at night, I kind of know I'm at home or I'm in a situation where I've got a bit more time and space because I'm not in the middle of a meeting to change the pod. So as a general rule, pods change nighttime. Now, came off a shift very, very late / early in the morning for work. And naturally, the last thing you want to do is change a pod. But because I leave them until the nighttime, that is what had happened. So I was like, oh, I can't go to bed yet. I'm a gremlin at this point. My eyes are completely crossed from being on the screen all day. Like, my whole body is contorted into the shape of a person who lives at a chair, at a desk. And all I want to do is go to bed. But I'm like, oh, I got to change this pod. So I changed the pod. And for whatever reason, it didn't connect. It didn't prime. It couldn't speak to my controller, and I was like, not tonight. I got it working, whatever. But the one I'd had to discard, which by the way has actually never happened, it just couldn't find it. I don't know why.
This happened to me.
I've never had this
Didn't I
before.
tell you? And they were like, oh, you have to move 10 meters away from it. I was like, my flat isn't 10 meters big. I had to do it up. I had to go to the top of the garden.
No.
I had to go to the top of the garden.
So what I should have done is hang out of my window with this thing, because I got like just laying down, and I cannot tell you, like, I'd aged about 10 years. I just had festered in the flat all day. I hadn't been outside, and that is so unhealthy, and it goes against all my...
so unlike you. Unlike you.
So I was laying down so late. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get up again so soon. And I hear this dee, 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 dee. And I was like, surely not. Another one hasn't worked. I was like, what's wrong? So I was checking my controller. That all looked fine. It's in automated mode. Everything's cute. The Dexcom's reading. I was like, what? What is beeping? And I put all my pods together in a box, and I suddenly realized that false starter had woken up and decided that it was actually, in fact, resurrected and was ready to work, but I didn't know which pod it was. So there I am, scraping through these pods, trying to find the one that doesn't look like it's been used. And I found one that I thought it was, and I pierced it, did the emergency, like, do not resuscitate. I was like, cool, go to bed. 10 minutes later, I'm like,
and this is like a horror film. This is awful.
It was the ghost of pods past, very festive. And I was just like, you have got to be kidding me. I felt like I was being bullied by this pod. I was being trolled. It's like that episode of Friends where Phoebe has
with the fire
detector. So I ended up taking this box of pods, taking them to the back of my windowless tiny box spare room, putting them under the bed in there and shutting the door and just being like, I will deal with you tomorrow. And I'm not kidding. I've been working away at my desk the next day, and I heard this little and she's still in there. She's still in there haunting me.
That sound haunts my dreams.
Truly.
That is nightmarish. Like, I've had, like the screeches in the night, and I'm like, ugh. But even that thing of like, I've had a few times where I've like fallen asleep on the sofa, and that thing where you like wake up at like midnight or 1 a.m. and you're like, you can like barely peel yourself into bed.
You're basically fused into the sofa.
Yeah, and then as you just look at the screen before you go to bed, and it's like pod expired, and you're like, and then you're like, can I push it to the 8 hours? And you do the maths, and you're like, no, it's already been 4, so it's going to wake me up at 5 a.m. if I don't do this now.
Yeah, with that horrible screech. That is the worst. You told me the other day that you'd left one overnight, and I was like, honestly, that gives me heart palpitations thinking about leaving it to the 8 hour shut off. Yeah,
I think I'd just forgotten because I was tired. And no, that was it. I think it was going to expire at like 1 or 2 a.m. So I knew that if I was getting up at 8, I would have enough time to change it. And then I got up and was pottering about and knew it was going to go soon, and just then forgot. And then it was like, and then not only does the pod go, but the handset goes.
Yes, double
And the
trouble.
handset was so loud.
Because my old Nokia, the old handset, it never used to do that. So the 2 beep thing, I'm still like, whoa, you're a lot, chill out.
That beep that it makes. Have you ever walked past what's it called? Like a traffic light crossing? I don't know what they're called. I would fail my theory test.
Yeah, like
basically that, like beep, 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 beep,
yeah.
crossing. So there's one that I walk past when I come out of the station every night, and every single time it's going, I'm like, oh, it must be me. It's me. It's not me. It's not always about you, Amy.
I feel like you're more attuned, aren't you, to those high-pitched beeps? Like I definitely have it in cafes with coffee machines where I'm like, what? Oh no, it's just coffee. It's just coffee.
My dishwasher does one as well. And I'm always like, at the end of the cycle.
My coffee machine, this is absolutely nothing to do with diabetes, but I think you'll personally enjoy it. Sorry, audience, if you don't. But my coffee machine, I've noticed when I press it on, it does a to like grind whatever through. I've noticed that it is the exact noise at the start of a Britney Spears song. And now I can't unhear it.
What's the song?
It's the one that goes, hush, just stop. What song is that? Stronger. Yeah. So the beginning of it's that. And
oh my God, it's so cool, women of a certain age.
I'm genuinely going to send you a video of it because every day I just break into this song and I'm like, what the hell? It's 7:30 in the morning and my coffee machine is singing Britney Spears at me.
But you get long-term earworms because I remember coming to see you in Mexico and there was a song that you listened to every morning.
I do that.
But I also think that it's impossible when a noise happens that makes the song in your brain.
Yeah.
Like that'll be the beginning of the song and it starts you off and then you're like, oh, we're here.
Here we are again, 7:30 every morning. Every morning. Well, 4 times a day. I make that many coffees. I tell you what's worse though, maybe than the beeps at night is when you've just cleaned your teeth and you get into bed and the alarm goes off because you've got a hypo.
It's not even the one that you think the pump will catch and you can annoy. It's the one that says 3.1, but it within 10 minutes or whatever, it's double arrows down and you're like, ah!
Let's have some minty orange juice. Is there anything worse? Than minty orange juice?
There is. So I've been going through a phase, and it must be hormonal. I think I spoke to you about this, where I just kept having like catastrophic hypos out of nowhere, like double arrows down, I'm hitting 2.7 and I can't feel it. But like finger prick confirms that it is indeed the case. And
so much fun.
Oh, so much fun. And in the moment, like I've destroyed all the sweets. I've eaten all the dried fruit. Like I'm at the point where I'm eating bananas to try and get the glucose up. And then I found like an orange juice in the fridge, and it was one that had like been in. It was like a carton that had been in my bag, and I'd obviously emptied out the bag and popped it back in the fridge, so it didn't have a straw. So I stabbed the top with a fork and started like squeezing it into my mouth, and I was like, bit fizzy,
bit sharp.
Wait, February 2023, it went out a day. It was absolutely rancid. It must have been knocking around in the bottom of that bag for about 3 years, because they normally have a really long date on them because they're not real oranges, like fake orange juice, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was disgusting.
Oh, grim. Do you know, I have now, because I'm having less hypos, certainly at night, and juice would always be the thing at night because I don't want to be chewing anything at 4 a.m. when I'm half asleep. That is terrifying. Although I do it, but juice is preferable. And so now, and I never need a whole carton of juice to bring me out of a hypo, whereas I think we've talked about this before, you need a lot more sugar than I do.
Yeah.
And so I would drink maybe half a carton if I woke up in time to realise that I needed to stop drinking the whole carton of orange juice, of apple juice. So I'd have these cartons, like half carton at the bottom of my bed, which would be fine because it would only be a matter of like a night or two before I would need it again.
Yeah.
And now that's not the case. So I have to be very careful about taking half opened cartons. In fact, they just go straight in the bin now, which is a waste, but nobody needs that fizzy sour juice in their life. Grim.
No, yeah, juice is my go-to. It's the first thing I go to as well. And then I normally have to follow it up with something a little bit like more of a carby carb, you know?
Yeah.
Like a rice cake or
like the rice cake,
or something.
Crumbs in the
rice
bed.
cakes at the moment. Crumbs in the
You
bed.
put me onto the chocolate rice cakes and I have not looked back. Hypo or not, they are going in.
They are absolutely banging. They're so good.
They do good ones here as well, yeah.
Ooh, yeah, there was good. I went to this really great supermarket actually, and I can't direct from yours to there because I went from my friend who lives near Jen. I went, and Jen, actually my friend and Jen live on this same road and they'd never met one another, which was incredible.
That really blew my mind.
Yeah, so you walk from my friend's house down the hill to get to Jen's, but we walked up one and over, and there was a lovely supermarket, and it was like a sort of Whole Foods vibe, but it's like still like you do your big shop there and it's still cheaper than Tesco would be at home.
I need to go check this out.
Really good. And so I bought this like
it's called
Lidl. Don't. You know that's my favourite place.
It is, yeah, on the earth, I would say.
It's my favourite place on earth. Like a big pot of like dried papaya.
Oh, stop.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
And I love that, like in with your fresh fruit and your yogurt. And also, did I tell you I've started making granola? That's my big news of the year.
Sorry, hybrid closed loop step aside. Talk me through.
And I put it in a giant, in fact.
Oh, one for the viewers. If this doesn't make you hop onto YouTube, I don't know what will. I'm imagining a really gorgeous hipster, aesthetically pleasing TikTok type jar. There she is. Oh my God. Wow.
Thank you.
She looks very fulfilling. Like there's lots of elements going on there, which is my kind of granola. Talk me through
There's lots of elements. And she doesn't really spike my glucose.
What?
That high. She's made of oats, nuts, coconut oil. I buy that fake maple syrup, which is like a low sugar. It's like a fake. It tastes of maple syrup, but it's not real maple syrup.
My goodness.
And chocolate chips, flaxseed, chia seeds.
I feel like you need to market this.
Oh, it's someone else's recipe, so I can't.
Oh.
But I will send you the recipe.
Please do, because I don't know portion control when it comes to granola, and it does get me in trouble with my blood sugars.
The reason, because you love granola as well, I forgot.
So
this is where I have the little protein powder scoop in there.
Oh,
so I know exactly how much I'm having.
Then I would just take 16 scoops.
Oh my God, it smells so good.
I love that. How inventive. Look at you, absolutely peaking in your 30s.
Honestly. I feel like Martha Stewart.
I'm sensing this. No more hypo gremlin, sweaty.
Caught my hair in the jar. So if anyone comes around for granola, it's delicious.
Martha Stewart could never. Just mind that bit of hair. Don't worry about it, guys. Good housekeeping.
And also with my colour hair, there's no way of me ever being like, oh no, it's not mine. It must have come from somewhere else. No.
This episode of Type 1 is sponsored by Dexcom. I've been using the Dexcom continuous glucose monitor for years, and it's hard for me to express just how much of a difference it's made to my life as someone living with type 1 diabetes. Their CGM sensors give me the confidence to make informed treatment decisions in the moment, which is great for me as I'm often running around, and with just a quick glance I can see exactly where my glucose level is, where it's been, and where it's headed. So please take a look at Dexcom.com. They have a choice of systems, so you can find the right one for your lifestyle.
I'm wondering what else the fans of Ami Bennett would like to know, because it's been a little while.
Do you know what? It's been quiet in the DMs. I've not been here for a while.
Oh, okay. Go and send Amy some festive cheer in the DMs. And that is not a euphemism.
What do you mean?
Just nice words, nothing else.
Nice words of encouragement. I'm happy if you want to DM me, I'll send you the granola recipe.
There you go.
It's from actually a really great, I feel like this is good things to share. We're not gatekeepers, are we? I feel like this account, so it's not necessarily like healthy, but it's healthier, and a lot of the options are lower carb, lower sugar, or like low refined sugar or no refined sugar. She's called Dr. Bowl, like a bowl. Yeah, and so she's a doctor and she also does like really great recipes. So there's like banana bread that is literally made from oat flour, which is like literally you put oats in the blender and blend them up to like a flour consistency. And it's made with like oat flour, bananas, eggs, maple syrup, and have I missed something crucial out of what goes in a banana bread? Because of
eggs. Did you say eggs?
Yeah.
Milk?
And that's it. Basically, it's all things that are made with like bananas, or there are some like banana-free alternatives, but they don't have like refined sugar in. A lot of them don't use flour. They use like an oat flour or an almond flour or a flour
substitute? Alternative?
Substitute. I think I was trying to say substitute, but my brain was going subsidiary. And I was like, I don't even know what that means.
We'll take it. What I'm hearing here is, and I think this is an intro, well, maybe it is. Maybe it's a really boring point, but here we are. Because obviously we can eat everything, and us people living with type 1.
You try and tell me that I can't.
Yeah, watch me take down those biscuits. But sometimes you want to pick your battles. And I know, for example, that certain types of flour are going to be more troublesome on the admin front than others. So I think it's sometimes for me about like, where do I want an easy ride today?
Yes.
So I'm hearing, I like this. It's like, this stuff's good. I know I'm putting good things in my body.
Yeah.
My body's going to be like, yes, thanks. And taste delish.
And so sometimes I find that conversation difficult to navigate with other people.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, you said you weren't going to eat that. Like if you say no thank you to something and then you say yes please to something, it's like, yeah, but I said no thank you to that so I could have that and actually just also have like an easy ride rather than I don't want to be on the roller coaster and have my kidneys hurt tomorrow.
Right.
But
which is a thing. Achy kidneys.
Yeah, man.
That's the thing.
It is complicated to explain that to people, and I just think
that chat just reminded me to drink my water. Thanks.
Yeah, actually, my sweet kidneys. I did a really dark wee this morning. So.
Oh no, I had to do the wee in the pot the other week. I had my hospital appointment, and they didn't give me the thing that you.
Oh, I've got loads.
Ah,
I steal them every time.
Amy really revolutionised my
yeah, but let's talk about
yearly urine sample.
Let's talk about why that happened.
So for those of you that weren't here when the weekly check-in with Diaries, it was called Type 1 the Diaries. It was a weekly episode with Amy documenting our diabetes escapades, as they came to be known, week on week. And I really think this was peak escapade for you.
Near the beginning as well.
It was yeah.
First appointment, I got transferred to a different hospital, and it was my first appointment at that hospital because the hospital I was at, they just said, look, we don't have the funding to get you any of the good tech that you want, so we're going to send you elsewhere, which was great. My first God, it's so ridiculous. My first appointment at that hospital, I had to go and do the urine sample, which is very normal. Done it lots of times before. I'll be honest, I'm not great at it. The tube is small, and the hospital toilets are not like, you're not great for like the manoeuvring.
There is no world in which aiming a wee into a tiny test tube is in any way easy, doable, delicate, graceful, not mindful, not demure. No. It's horrific. It's horrific.
Unless you have a penis, in which case, obviously, it was built for you, like the rest of the world is. But that's a whole other story. So anyway, I'd started and I was like, oh God, this is not going in anywhere. And I was having a bit of a nightmare. And then, so I like adjusted my position slightly. Sorry, I realised it's quite graphic and there's like probably a bit of a mental picture that people might be drawing up. Sorry, it's gross. Anyway, so then I was like, oh my God, it's going in the tube. This is great. There's a bit on my hand, but I can deal with that. It's fine. And then so I did up the tube, got off the toilet, looked down, and I realised I had pissed in the entirety of the crotch of my jeans, which had been around my ankles. And I was like, and I'd also not just like pissed in the crotch, I'd like pissed all up what would be like the back seam, like between the two pockets on the back.
Okay, the visible bit for public consumption. Oh,
yeah. Like if I'd just done the crotch, I probably could have crossed my legs and
shuffled out
it up and shuffled it and been uncomfortable for the appointment, but it was fine. Anyway, I'd done it up the back of my jeans, and so then I think I had a spare jumper, I had a sweatshirt on and a coat, so I took my sweatshirt off and tied it around my waist and then put my coat back on.
Oh, like a music video from the 2000s. That is awful. But do you know what? It is so real. And that is what this is about, because there are so many people that have definitely done that.
Well,
so many.
Let me tell you, when you go to the doctor, I went to the doctor and they gave me what is like it was actually like the protein, the protein.
The scoop.
It's like they give you like a scoop thing with a handle and it's got like a spout on it. So then you wee into that and then you pour it into the jug.
Yeah.
Like
a miniature.
Not the jug, the what's it? The tube. Actually, this is really bad, but you have to have your doctor's, the GP does a different set of diabetes checks.
Yes, it is honestly one of the biggest.
For some magical reason,
bugbears.
They don't talk to each other. So I went for an appointment for my smear test, and while I was there, the lady said to me, "Oh, you're diabetic as well. Do you want to do your foot check and your blood pressure and stuff while you're here?" And I was like, "Great." She said, "We don't do the blood and urine here. You have to go somewhere else for that, but I'll give you all the stuff and you can go and do it." Anyway, that was 2 months ago. I still haven't done the blood and urine because I don't have time.
Yeah, because you've already done it once.
I've already done it about 3 times this year, hun. And it's sitting in the hallway, but the urine thing they gave me did come with like an implement to help you wee into the tube.
An aid,
yeah. And why does that not exist all the time?
Why are they not given out?
I shouldn't have to piss my jeans.
No, you really should. No one should have to do that ever, regardless of the number of appointments.
Oh God!
Well,
and also,
thank you for making everyone feel better.
There was a really fit man in the waiting room.
No. You could have been a little dire couple.
Yeah, I know. But then that was also the day when I'd gone there and there was like 3 people that had no feet.
Oh, that is hard.
And I was like, oh, this is, like you see potentially what could be your future.
Yeah.
And then your potential future dire husband. And yeah.
It's just a lot going on. The damp jeans don't help.
The pissy jeans didn't help. And it made me... I've definitely taken, what's the word? This year, I've taken better responsibility for my health rather than the attitude of relying on I knew that the tech would make things better, but actually I would argue that probably better on a mental side than there's the obvious physical,
Yeah.
But a lot of the physical stuff is down to me and like lifestyle change and actually wanting to live longer and,
Yeah. You have to get there though, don't you? And now she makes granola on a weekend, guys.
Babe, I'm doing this in the weekdays.
Oh, she's busy.
Before I go to work.
Making granola. Oh, stop. Okay, now you're showing off. I'm there with Britney Spears singing me coffee.
I will treat you to some granola. I'll post you some.
Wait. Yeah, I'm coming round. I'm coming round, babe.
In the internet? In the internet? What's wrong with me?
Through the screen. Well, that sounds like a win. And speaking of another stunning segue for you all,
She's an audio
this
professional.
morning posted a little story on Instagram asking for your diabetes wins of the year. Now, I specifically said, especially if they're not marathons or mountains, but the person I was calling out there was obviously myself.
Yourself?
Because...
I knew that. But actually, Jen, you've not been that, not mental, but you've not been doing like super extreme things. I feel like you're doing like lots of measured stuff. You go to the gym. You've been doing some nice hikes with the sticks and the boots.
It's more lifestyle than extreme. Hey, you're making granola. I'm just taking my sticks out for a little walk.
We're just doing there's real whispers of wellness here, Jen.
Who are we?
I also want to take this opportunity to say that I've taken up crochet and I've been making my own clothes.
Oh, wait, well, I mean, I don't really know. Like, when we first met, when we were ripe little spring chickens, how old were we? I was 24 26. When I started at Radio 1.
Yeah, and I think I started a year later. So I was... Oh, no, maybe I was 25. No, I was 26.
I probably met you when I was 25, though, because I didn't meet you straight away. So to look at us now, over a decade later, I mean, here we are, joined at the diabetes non-working pancreas.
I knew you were going to say pancreas.
Yeah, no, the sexy little pancreas. Anywho,
Yeah, sorry.
Let's
we
get
digress.
to Instagram. We do digress, but hopefully people are enjoying this. Oh, I've got a new message.
Oh, she's live.
Oh, it's your friend, Matt Smith.
Oh, we
who
love
lives
Matt
with type 1
Smith.
diabetes. Sorry,
He
that's the
does
only
live
reason I
with
said
type
it.
1
Yeah,
diabetes, yeah.
it was relevant.
He's also a very good DJ and a really good audio producer.
He's sent me something about type 1 community, who you put me onto, who I've since had on the podcast. So this is very full circle. Lovely little community we've got going on here.
Yeah.
Right. So, keeping it on trend. Wins of the year. So, Kimberly says, finally getting a pump. We love that.
We love that.
Yeah, we hope it's going well. Blair, who I met this year in gorgeous Edinburgh, maintain a good HbA1c despite my work-related stress going off the scale. Well, that is relatable.
Hard relate, Blair.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. People ask me what my HbA1c is all the time, and I never know. I've sort of just take things day by day now.
Well, I think because we have the data, don't we? We have more of a gauge. Whereas before it was like that one number every 3 months. Yeah,
it felt like an exam.
Completely terrifying. Pass or fail, pass or fail, pass or fail.
Yeah. It is. I think it's really easy to put yourself under pressure for numbers like HbA1c, but if it's not great, then you know that you need to put a bit of work in to make it better. But it's not the end of the world because you can change it.
I think that's the thing when you get these numbers that you're a bit disappointed by, and it's all personal, sort of what that number would be. It's all temporary, and you do sort of have, sometimes it, like for me, it sometimes made me realize that I have been a bit complacent when it comes to paying attention. And I'm like, okay, there's only a few tweaks I need to make here because I've got a good basis for what I need to do. And I always kind of understand where that's come from, whether it's been a high stress work period or I haven't been paying attention or I've been eating too much granola without carb counting properly.
And all of those things are sort of okay.
Yeah, totally.
It's life.
It is life. And this is long. And I think that's what you realise, isn't it? Like if you do have that one number, that 1 week or that one result every 3 months that you don't love, it's like, okay, well, life is long. So as long as I'm going to try and do a few little tweaks here and there, we're going to be all right.
It's going to be fine.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll smash it, but I'm sorry to hear about your stressful job, Blair, because that's not fun.
I hope that's temporary, and I hope you get a lovely, lovely festive break.
I was just thinking that. You're nearly there. We're nearly there.
We're nearly there, guys. And Mary Ann, who also appeared on this here podcast this year, managed to go the whole year without getting my tubing caught on a door handle.
Absolutely smashed it. The exact reason I have a tubeless pump because I am such a klutz. So yeah, I mean, that is incredible because I think I would, if I had a pump with a tube, I think it would be probably a 3 times a week occurrence for me.
Oh, at least. I would have lost so many to the cannula graveyard. Like I whack my limbs are 8 feet long. Like I whack them all the time.
Like Mr. Tickle.
Literally. I just don't. So I love that one because it isn't mountains or marathons. It's like, this is real life with type 1. It's getting your pump tubing caught in a door handle. Speak to me.
Not to be that guy. I don't want to be negative, but Marianne, we haven't reached the end of the year yet. It'll be on New Year's Eve, 11 p.m, and you'll be like,
oh my God. Marianne, please write to us on the 1st of January 2025 just to let Amy know that.
Tape that thing to your body. Every part of that tubing, tape it down.
Yeah. The tubing and the Christmas lights, that could be a dangerous time.
Oh gosh.
There's lots of opportunities for some tangling there. Okay,
there's someone in the world somewhere decorating their tree with their old tubing, isn't there?
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right.
Sure, like they've made a dietary. I want to see it. If you made a dietary, please send it. I would love to see that.
What else could you make? Well,
you can make like little baubles out of your pods. They'd stink. Like, must be really bacony. Like
with the adhesive.
Smell.
Oh,
the insulin smell. God, actually, you know when you were saying earlier about the one that was bleeping at you, and so you're trying to find the one that you hadn't worn. Mine are so obviously worn because they are so covered in fluff and fake tan. They are disgusting. disgusting.
Oh no!
And because I send them for recycling, I think to myself every time I put them in, like, if they're not covered in fake tan, there's like a load of blood around them where like a cannula's wiggled around, or they're like just grubby from like a jumper or a black t-shirt. A black t-shirt the day after a Dexcom is a nightmare, because the Dexcom is then like this one I've got on now, it's covered in fluff. And I just think they must look at it and be like, this girl is absolutely disgusting. I am disgusting.
But it's true, because skin bits aren't body bits. They're not cute.
It was more just that my pumps always, like, I can smell the insulin, like, when I take the pump off.
Yeah, it's quite... I saw someone, who was it? I think my mum was meeting an old friend that had been... God, use your words, Jen. Wow. She met an old friend who they were friends when I was a kid. So oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, I get it. So you grew up with their kid.
With their daughter, yeah.
Yeah.
So 2 daughters and my mum and this girl's mum, and used to be friends, whatever. Oh my God. Why can I not get...
My mum has a friend with a daughter the same age as me, so we grew up together. We continue.
Someone I'd known from yesteryear. And...
Yesteryear? Wow.
Oh no, we bumped into her. That was it. It was completely random. We bumped into her, and I can't remember if I just collected a prescription or I'd just taken some insulin or something. She was like, oh my God, that smell is so nostalgic. I was just like, God, I smell like a hospital. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Or a pig.
Or bacon. I don't know which is worse.
Hospital bacon.
Cute story. Anyway, before I paint myself in any better light, you did wee yourself, so it's fine.
I mean, I've literally got no defense. I didn't actually wee myself. I did.
No.
I could have held it, but I was being forced to wee, arguably. I forcibly wet myself.
Under duress.
Under duress.
This is from Isla, who I also met in lovely Edinburgh. The people with diabetes in Edinburgh, can I just say, absolutely delightful. We were talking about, this is why I was talking about Fiasp earlier, because we were messaging. We were chatting about, I'd switched previously from Nova Rapid because it wasn't working. It was so slow. It was taking 45 minutes or so to work for me personally. And I think we've spoken about this in a previous podcast, where you don't realize like the advocating that you can do for yourself, and it's exhausting and it's tiring, and you've kind of always done this since you were diagnosed, that you've seen that if you keep asking, eventually people have to listen.
Fed up.
But hey, it's worked. And I think I've spoken previously, I used to go into my hospital appointments and just be like, yes, no, yes, I'm the same weight, no, I'm not pregnant, no, I don't smoke, like, see ya, do you know? And we were having a chat, and Isla was also diagnosed as an adult, and she's on Nova Rapid, and we were talking about how it maybe wasn't working for her. And I said, have you asked to change? Have you asked about any other options? And she said no. And she messaged me saying her win was the fact that she's now on Fiasp, and it's so much better because she asked and they listened. Isn't that amazing?
That's so good. And I also think what you were saying about advocating for yourself. Number one, I wouldn't do it if it wasn't for you, because I wouldn't know about, again, it's this thing of like having someone else being like, you know, you can ask the question. And also seeing the things that you had, and then you being like, you know, you could get this as well. But I do think it's that thing of the doctor or your consultant or whoever doesn't live your life. You live your life. And if you can make the suggestion, they might say to you, oh, it's not available, or I don't think that'd be quite right for you because, but if you don't make the suggestion, not every time someone is going to, not correct words. If you don't make the suggestion, they're not psychic. They can't, you know, predict what might work for you or what you might want. So I think it's always worth asking, even if you think it's not a possibility.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think if you think of it in the context of you go into that one appointment remembering your last appointment, but since that appointment, they've had hundreds of other people walk through that door. Yeah, they're not going to remember that, or not. They're not even going to be aware necessarily that what you're currently taking and using isn't the best fit for you. They, you know, and maybe you didn't think it wasn't the best fit for you until you found out that there was an alternative.
Or it might have been the best fit for you at a certain point in your life, and that can change.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you had Nova Rapid for years, didn't you? Like years and years. And
I didn't know that there was another one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there are lots of others now. I remember talking to someone, I can't remember who it was now. It was our friend Marina. And we had talked to her about, she had asked me about what insulin I was on. She was still taking Nova Rapid, I believe. And she got moved to a different one, which wasn't Fiasp, but a similar thing, which was, I think, even quicker than Fiasp.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, you never know. Just have the chat. And that's what the doctors are there for. They're working with you, not against you. They want to see your levels improve and your life improve and your general overall happiness and well-being and all of that sort of stuff. So have that conversation.
That was like a height chat. Love that. And I've just realised we've been talking for an hour and I can't believe it. So it's like the end of the podcast. So all we've got time for, my dear, is a quick resolution.
Jen.
Hit me.
2025. Do you remember at the beginning we got obsessed with I wanted to go to the insulin factory?
Oh yeah. Science lessons with Amy.
Let's put it on the vision board.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's my vision, but I'm happy to share this vision with you.
I just think it'll be a fun day out.
Mm-hmm.
We could wear the lab coats.
Do it for the content.
It would smell really good.
It would smell like bacon.
Smell like hospital bacon. Also, I mean, it's interesting saying this because we were all teenagers and in our 20s once and we drank loads. I drank WKD blues for the best part of like 5 years. So I never ever questioned what I was putting in my body. Right. And now I've been putting insulin in my body for 5 years. And again, I've only questioned it very fleetingly once or twice. Like, what even is it made of and how... I think about that discovery and that meme that you always see of like all of the ketoacidosis children in the hospital bed and in 1922 and thinking of, they went in and they injected this children and slowly one by one, these children like woke up like flowers. What did you put in it, guys? Like, obviously that was pig insulin,
pinsulin.
But then, like what science was involved in like looking at the pinsulin and being like, right, we're going to recreate this. Like, where were they like, oh, actually, if we pick this tree from the garden and crush this down and mix it with this, it makes the same. How? I don't understand science.
I don't understand science. And I like to just leave it there because when you say that, then I start thinking, okay, but who then... Well, famously we know, but who that light that's shining bright right there in front of me, like who put that filament next to that? Like, blah, 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 blah. My head just starts pinging and I can't cope.
The worst one. Have you ever thought about vinyl records?
What, like someone accidentally was scratching something?
No, but have you thought about like the process of like they press vinyl and then you put a needle on it and it plays out the song perfectly? Like, what is on it? Yeah. We have this conversation a lot at work and we're like, isn't it mental? It blows my mind.
But thank goodness there are people that think like that because now we're sat here alive and kicking, making granola, celebrating our wins. And I hope you are celebrating your wins. As little as they may seem for you, they are actually huge because we're all out here doing this all by ourselves and it is not easy. So you got through 2024. You're amazing for doing so. Round of applause.
Yeah, well done. Look at us go. We're thriving. And even if you feel like you're not thriving, it's fine. Everything is ups and downs. It's the roller coaster of life with the added, what's another metaphor for this, for diabetes? Like, oh, is my seatbelt going to work today? Oh, who knows?
Oh, what? Where did that come
from?
On
the roller coaster. Oh. God, Jen, ruined it. I really tried hard. I could probably come up with a better one.
Yeah, just that one's a bit threatening. I don't like it.
What, you might fall off the roller coaster? You won't die. There's a trampoline underneath it.
Oh, great. Okay, well then we're fine. I'm like, get me on the trampoline. That sounds way more fun as an out.
Wait, you would want to fall off the top of a roller coaster onto a trampoline? You're probably going to like break an ankle or something.
Triple somersault and present.
God, the dancer in us will never ever leave, will it?
Never. Well, with that, my love, it's been a gorgeous check-in obviously, as always, we'll see you very soon. This has been the year of, this is the most podcasts I think I've produced in a year. So
she's been non-stop. I think everyone needs to give Jen a big hand because she's really doing the most for the diabetes community. And actually, I think for me, when I was in a very lonely place at the start of my diabetes journey, actually 5 years ago, I went on holiday on Boxing Day, and I remember it was the first time I decided to engage in any sort of diabetic content, and I listened to a few of your podcasts, and I was like nodding along. I remember being on like a flight and like nodding along, being like, oh my God, yeah. And just doing that is, there is, your back catalogue of podcasts is incredible. And there will be more than one story that if you are a type 1 diabetic, or someone who is that's close to you, you will listen to that podcast and you will find something to relate to. And I think that's the important thing here, isn't it? Because I definitely felt really lonely, and not everyone has a physical Jen in their lives. Like, I'm very lucky to have you. I'm aware of that, and not everybody has that. And so it's like the online friend.
Oh,
she's really put in the work.
No,
she's nearly broken herself in the last.
I mean, that's not why I teed that up. I was going to actually say thank you to everyone for getting us here, because without any listeners, there would be no podcast, and it is exactly for that reason. Thank you so much, Amy. That is going to make me cry, so we're going to have to stop here. But I do hope if you have enjoyed listening this year, that it has helped you feel like you've got a little dire friend out there somewhere, because we are out here. Oh my God. Well, Amy, right back at you, because as I always say, you taught me more than I taught you, and not least getting off those 3-meter long needles.
Mega needles.
Yeah.
She pulled one out and I was like, I cannot believe, what is this? I was like, have you got loads of skin? Why have you got this?
It's like Mary Poppins pulling out of my handbag this needle that just never ended.
And you were covered in bruises, and you were like, I'm so bruised. And I was like, well, I think I know why.
Yeah. So I'll be eternally in your debt for that. But hey, Merry Christmas, depending on when you're listening to this. Let's go 2025. We've got this. So have a good one. Thanks, Amy. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you so much for having me. That was a thorough enjoy. As always, we came on with no plan and could well have. I mean, I talked about pissing myself. So listen, guys, if you think you've had a shit year, it can't get worse than that.
What a way to end. And good night.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Type 1 Please remember that nothing you hear on this podcast should be taken as medical advice. I'm definitely not a healthcare professional. If you like what you hear, hit subscribe and do leave a little review on iTunes if you have time. It really helps to spread the word about type 1 diabetes. And thank you so much for listening.